So Scrum and Kanban are frameworks of the agile project management or product delivery methodology. That is why that is so much popular for the implementation in the task tracking tools. Scrum, Kanban or Scrumban. Sounds like a crazy mixture, isn't it? Are you struggling to define the difference between all these frameworks? Well, actually, to let you know, this is one of the most popular questions: how to define the difference between the project management methodologies. And I can actually understand why. If you are, for instance, not using some specific methodology on a regular basis, or maybe you're just getting started as a project manager, it might be really challenging to define what methodology is used on the project. Let's talk about agile and let's define how to find out the differences between Scrum, Kanban, and Scrumban. Hey, this is Chris and you are in my project management sandbox. On my channel, we talk about project management, about career in IT, and about professional development. And today we will touch base on agile, specifically on the frameworks like Scrum, Kanban, and Scrumban. And by the end of the video, you will be able to clearly see the difference between Scrum, Kanban, and Scrumban, and to define what framework is used in the project. So if you're interested, then keep on watching. And by the way, if you are interested in mentorship with me, make sure to check the links below to this video. Let's make it clear. We are talking about frameworks. And I'm saying this on purpose. To give you an idea, there are two general flows in project management methodologies: classical waterfall or predictive approach, and modern agile or adaptive project management methodology. And underneath agile, there are a lot of flavors and frameworks, and Scrum and Kanban are only some of them. So Scrum and Kanban are frameworks of the agile project management or product delivery methodology. And Scrumban is a mixture of Scrum and Kanban. Well, the reasonable question would be, why would we need it? I mean, why do we need to hybrid two different frameworks? And there could be a lot of reasons to do this. Starting from the easiest response that could be beneficial for the project and ending by a lot of other causes and a lot of other reasons like preferences of the stakeholders and constraints that we have on a project. By the way, let me know in comments if you would want to learn how to choose the best suitable methodology for a project. Okay, now we know what is Scrum, what is Kanban, and even what is Scrumban. But how to define what the framework is used on a project and what are the differences across all of these frameworks? Let's start from Scrum. Scrum is the most structured and formal framework within Agile. So it's pretty easy to determine if the project is on Scrum just by finding out if there are specific common attributes that are relevant to Scrum practices. So the very first common attribute of Scrum is roles on a project. So if you hear product owner, development team, Scrum Master, be sure the project is using Scrum practices. Criterion number 2 is components or attributes. In Scrum, people use specific attributes to determine the project delivery process. So if you hear or if you know that on project people use the following components, chances are the project is on Scrum. So I'm talking about roles, something that we have put to the first place. Then sprints, sprint backlog, product backlog, retrospective, or if the project is using increments, again, this is a sign of Scrum. The third thing you may want to pay attention to while determining what the framework is used on a project is ceremonies or events. These are the practices that people use in Scrum in order to structure the project delivery flow and to discipline the project team in order to get more efficient results and to get them sooner. So the most common events that you may meet in Scrum are daily Scrums, backlog grooming, sprint planning, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. So if you know that people are practicing them again, this is the sign of a Scrum. And if you know exactly that on a project, those three components are really common and people use them on a regular basis, this means that project is using Scrum framework. By the way, if you are not subscribed yet, this is the right moment to do this. Now look down, there is a huge red button. Click it. And don't forget to tap the notification bell. This way you're going to receive notifications every time I'm sharing value. Okay? You have a couple of seconds to do this. 3, 2, 1. But what about Kanban? As you know, Kanban is also the agile framework, but how to determine if the project is actually on Kanban? To do this, let's look a little bit deeper into the project delivery processes to find out some specifics and assets that are common to Kanban. So what should we pay special attention to? Number 1. The most famous attribute of Kanban is obviously the Kanban board. And I'm sure you heard or even saw it in the task tracking tools. Should this be Jira or Asana or Trello, wherever. This is something common to the development teams. That is why that is so much popular for the implementation of the task tracking tools. In a couple of words, Kanban board is the visualization tool. It has statuses and stickers underneath, so you can clearly see from the first glance what status the task is in and how many tasks are at the same status simultaneously. Kanban boards for Kanban are paramount because with this tool we can track the progress on a project. Opposite to Scrum, in Kanban there are no specified roles and the leadership is shared across the whole team. That helps the teammates to get involved into the project delivery process deeper. So tip number 2, what to pay attention to, is that there are no specific roles on a project, and if you can see this, chances are it is Kanban. The next common feature for Kanban is eliminating bottlenecks and limiting the work in progress. Originally, Kanban came from manufacturing, and the purpose of this methodology was to streamline the production and removing the blockers on the delivery process. And from the development perspective, if there are too many tasks for one person, that could be considered a bottleneck, and we are aiming to remove the bottleneck and to increase the throughput. In other words, if the person has too many tasks in progress, that could be a bottleneck because we need to get from point A to point B as soon as possible, meaning from starting the work on the task until the final delivery. And that is why we need to reduce the work in progress. Now we know what are the differences between Scrum and Kanban, and looking at the project, we can define whether it uses Scrum or Kanban. But what if we see the signs of both framework on one project? Most likely this project is on Scrumban, because Scrumban is a hybrid of both Scrum and Kanban, as it mixes the approaches of both frameworks. In the perfect world, while mixing those frameworks, we are taking benefits from both of them, meaning we are taking the structure and discipline of Scrum and putting them together with the flexibility and efficiency of Kanban. That could be dictated by the needs on the project, or for instance, if we have decided to transition from one framework to another. Thus, as you understand, if you see the signs of both framework in one place, this is gonna be a Scrumban. I hope that was helpful, and now you can easily determine what framework is used on a project. Don't forget to give it a like if this video was helpful, or dislike if you didn't like the information in it. By the way, let me know in comments if you're interested in the topic of the project management methodologies. Thanks for watching. Cheers!